Hi students, today we're going to learn how to calculate percent of change. So we're going to start out first by looking at a formula that we use for percent of change. And what you do is you take the new value and subtract the old, and then you divide it by the old. And then you change it to percent. It's that simple. It may seem kind of weird right now, so let's look at some examples and I think it'll make more sense to you. So first of all, we have percent increase, and when you have a percent increase, it describes how much a quantity increases compared to the original amount. So we've already talked about a type of percent increase called markup. So we're going to start first with calculating percent increase. So we have two examples here that we're going to use by applying our formula. Example 1, we want to find the rate of increase from 25 to 49. So we started with 25, so that's our original, and then we go to 49, which is our new. And we could say this is even old, our old to new. Okay, so now we're going to put those numbers into the formula. So we're going to take our new value, subtract my old value, and then I'm going to divide that by my old value. So let's try it out. So I'm going to take my new value, which is 49. So that's what the change went to, and the change came from 25. I'm going to divide that by the original or the old value, what it started out with, because we're changing. You're going from one to another, so you're calculating the percent change. So I'm going to put a 25 on the bottom. So I've brought in my Desmos calculator, and you should do the same along with me. So I'm going to go ahead and just perform the operations that are in the formula. So I'm going to type in what I have into my Desmos calculator. So on top, I had 49 minus 25, my new amount minus my old amount. And then on the bottom, you had your original or your old amount, which was 25. And now you can see that you get a decimal on the right-hand side. So we don't want a decimal change, we want a percent change. So what you're going to do here is change that decimal to a percent. You probably already know how to do that by moving your decimal 2 places to the left or to the right. But we're going to go ahead and use our calculator, and we're going to multiply times 100 to get our percentage. So our percent change would be 96%. And again, we took the old value and the new value, we subtracted them. So it was new, which is 49, minus the old amount, which was 25. We divided it by the 25 to get that decimal change. And then we multiplied it by 100 to get our percentage. So the answer was 96%, and this was an increase. Okay, let's take a look at another example. Susie purchased a daily planner for $32. The wholesale cost was $25. What was the percent markup? Okay, so for some of the other problems we've been doing with markup, you had been calculating either the markup amount or perhaps the new price. But here we're going to figure out what the percent markup is. So same thing, percent of change. So it originally was $25. So the $25 is going to be the original price or the old price. And then the $32 is going to be the new, because that's what she's paying for it after the markup. So again, I'm going to use that formula, new minus old, and divide by old. So the new price that Susie paid for the planner was $32. I'm going to subtract that from the wholesale price, and I'm going to divide by the wholesale because that was the original price so that I can calculate the percent markup. So again, I'm going to bring in my calculator and I'm going to put that into my formula. So my new, remember, that's the amount that she paid after the markup. And then what it started out as was $25. That's what the store paid for it. And so we're trying to figure out the percent increase from the original price or the old price. So we're going to put the 25 on the bottom. Now you notice there we get a decimal. Again, we need to change that to a percent. I could even do that right here on the same line because I know that when I multiply a number times 100, it moves the decimal place 2 places to the right, which turns this into a percent. So I'm going to multiply times 100. And then that gives us our percentage, which is 28%. So what that means for the notebook had a 28% markup from the original price or the wholesale cost to the amount that Susie spent for the planner. So this is going to be a 28% markup. And then we had that 96% increase over here. All right, here is another example. Bottled water costs $1.25 in the vending machine. This price is the markup from the wholesale cost of 20 cents. What is the markup as a percent? So we're going to apply that same formula. New minus old over old. And then whatever we get, we're going to multiply it by 100 to get our percentage. So if the bottled water costs $1.25 in the vending machine, okay, that's going to be the new price. The price it was before is the wholesale cost, so that's going to be the old cost. It's important that you don't mix the two up. So now I'm going to simply plug those numbers into my formula. My new would be $1.25. I'm going to subtract 20 cents. I'm going to put this over the wholesale price, what it was originally. And then I can just multiply by 100 to get my answer. So I'm going to bring in my calculator. So I'm going to clear this out. And my new was $1.25. My old price was 0.2, 20 cents or 0.20. And then I'm going to divide all of that. So if you forget to put the fraction to begin with, you can highlight it and then click on the A over B key. And on the bottom, I'm going to put the old price or the original price because that's what it's marked up from. So I'm going to put 0.2 on the bottom. Okay, so now you're going to see this number here, 5.25. You may be tempted to stop here because you think, well, that's 5%, 5.25%, but remember, that's the decimal value. So you need to remember to multiply times 100, and then that will give you the percent markup. You may notice this is a really large number, 525% markup. Well, if you look at the difference in values from the 20 cent of the old price to the $1.25 of the new price, you can see that it's increased more than 5 times the original value, hence 525%. So I'm going to write down my answer of 525% markup. Our next example, or our last example of percent increase. When Bobby was exercising, his heart rate went from 79 beats per minute to 98 beats per minute. Approximately what was the percent of increase? Okay, so we're calculating increase. It started at 79 and it went to 98. Again, we're going to use our formula, new, in this case heart rate, minus old over old. And we can't forget that multiplying by 100. You may not actually write that out when you do the problems, but you need to make sure that you're moving your decimal point to get the percent and not the decimal. So he went from 79, so 79 beats is going to be the old. So that's going to be our old amount. The new amount, when he was exercising, so he went from a state of rest to a state of exercise, so that new heart rate is going to be 98 beats per minute. So the new is going to be 98. I'm going to subtract my 79. I'm going to divide that by the old, because you're looking for the increase from the original heart rate before he exercised, which is 79. And then we're going to multiply that by 100 to get our percent increase. So I'm going to bring in my calculator. And I'm going to go ahead and do that here. So I'm going to take the 98. I'm going to subtract the 79. I'm going to now divide that by 79. It gives me a decimal. I want a percentage, so I'm going to multiply by 100 to change that to a percent. And I'm going to round this to the nearest percent. So I'm going to say that it was a 24% increase. Okay. All I did was I took the numbers that we came up with, that we applied in the formula, and multiplied it by 100 to get that percentage. So this would be 24%. So it's a 24% increase, in this case in heart rate. Okay, now we've looked at several examples of increase. Let's look at some examples of decrease. Decrease is how much a quantity decreases compared to the original amount. Okay, not only how much, it's a percent, the percentage of how much it decreases. So an example, we've already done problems when we have things on sale or we have a discount. That would be when something goes down, like a price would go down, that would be percent decrease. So our first example, percent decrease, the number is going from 50 to 45. Same formula, okay? So you're going to take your new, subtract your old, divide by the old, and multiply by 100. So our new is 45 because we're going from 50 to 45. So 45 minus 50, and I'm going to divide that by the old amount, which is 50, and multiply by 100. Okay, you're going to notice now 45 minus 50, you may already know that that's going to give you what type of number? It's going to give you a negative number, but that's okay because we're calculating percent decrease now, so it should be a negative. Let's bring in the calculator and try it out. So I'm going to take 45 subtract 50, highlight all of that, click my A to the B key, and I'm going to put the old amount, right? Started at 50 and went to 45, so it's 50 on the bottom. You can see we have that negative, but we're not going to stop there. We want a percent decrease, so we're going to multiply by 100. So we get negative 10, which is actually negative 10%. So I'm going to write down my answer. This was a negative 10% change. You may also see this as 10% decrease. Okay, both are a negative value. If you decrease something, it goes down. If you're just using the negative sign in front of the 10%, that represents that it's a decrease as well. So either one of those would be acceptable. So now let's look at how we can apply it for cost. Carlos used a coupon and paid $7.35 for pizza that normally costs $10.50. Now we're going to find the percent of discount. When we were looking at increase, we found percent of markup. Now we're going to look at percent of discount, because the price is actually going to go down from the original. So here, the $7.35 is actually going to be the new price because that's what he paid for it after a sale. And then the old price would be the $10.50. So I'm going to take my new minus old, divide it by my old, and multiply it by 100. My new, right here, is $7.35 when the pizza's on sale. The original price is $10.50. So you can think of this as old. You may think of it as original. And then on the bottom, you're going to write out the old price, what it was originally, $10.50, and you're going to multiply that by 100. So I'm going to bring in my calculator, and I'm just going to put that in. $7.35 minus $10.50. And I'm going to divide that by the original, what it cost before the discount. And then I get negative 0.3. Next step, either move the decimal point. You may know to do that, but you can always, since you already have it in the calculator, you can multiply by 100, and then you get your percentage. Again, it's negative because a discount causes the price to go down. It's a decrease. So this is going to be negative 30% change. So we're going to be at a negative 30% change, or we could say that it's a 30%, let's use the word that we have in the problem, it's a 30% discount, which decreases the price. So you can see we calculate it the same way as we do percent increase. It's just we're going to end up with a negative percentage. Or we use the words that represent negative amounts, like decrease and a discount. Let's look at example number 7. Samantha bought a book on sale for $3.60. It was originally priced for $12. What was her discount as a percent? So she got a discount. So this is going to be percent decrease. So we're going to look for the new and the old. So it was on sale for $3.60. That's the new price. Originally, it was $12. That's the old price. So we're looking at the change from the old price to the new price. And to do that, we're going to subtract new, we're going to take new and subtract old. So I'm going to take the $3.60. I'm going to subtract the $12. And I'm going to divide that by the original price of $12. And then, of course, multiply by 100. So we're going to bring in our calculator. And I'm going to calculate that if I can get some room here. There we go, a little bit. I'm going to just come over here. $3.60 minus $12. Don't really need the 0.00, but might as well. And I'm not done. I've got to divide that by the original price, which was $12. Okay, so you notice there's a negative, but it's not negative 0.7%, that's negative 0.7. So we're going to multiply by 100, and so this is going to be a discount of 70%, or negative 70% change. So we had negative 70% change, or we could say 70% discount, which is probably the better answer here because the question was asking for the discount. All right, we have one more problem. Example 8. The boiling point of water is lower at the boiling point of water is lower at higher altitudes. Water boils at 212 degrees Fahrenheit at sea level and 193.7 degrees Fahrenheit at 10,000 feet. What is the percent of decrease in the temperatures to the nearest tenth of a percent? Okay, so for this, it's asking for the percent of decrease. So the boiling at sea level, we're going to start at sea level. So that's going to be our old. Our old temperature was 212 because it's asking for decrease. We know the numbers should be going down. So the second temperature, the 193.7 degrees, is going to be our new temperature when we go higher in altitude. So we're going to take our new amount, our new temperature, 193.7 degrees. We're going to subtract the old temperature, which would be the temperature at sea level before there's a change in altitude. And we're going to divide that by 212 because that was the old, or that was the original information given in the problem. And then to make sure we get a percent, we're going to multiply by 100. So I'm going to bring in my calculator, and I'm going to put that in. 193.7 minus 212. That's going to give us the amount of change, but we want the percent. So on the bottom, 212 was the temperature at sea level for boiling water. And you notice we get a negative because we're calculating percent of decrease. And we're going to multiply by 100 so that we have a percentage. And we'll just round this, let's see, what does it say? To the nearest tenth of a percent. Okay, so nearest tenth is going to be negative 8.6%. Negative 8.6. So it's a negative 8.6% change. The negative that we have here indicates that it's going to be a decrease, or you could say that it's an 8.6% decrease. Okay, today we learned how to apply percent change for both increases and decreases.